Meeting starts. All the meetings to order at 7:08. All in favor to order. Will we all rise for the pledge of allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so I will make a motion to go into executive session. In order to discuss the superintendent's review and the renewal of the contract. A second, all in favor? Great, 7-0. We'll be back.
Are we leaving this room or just?
No, I didn't. You can leave.
didn't really have a lot of protests. There was. I'm gonna bring my tablet. Yes. That's all right. You burn more calories when you're cold.
Okay, so I have to read.
I'll take that as a positive.
Yeah. You burn more calories when you're cold.
When an hour earlier.
Because I mean, like me.
Here, I thought this was a
Goals.
quick meeting and everybody walked in.
I know.
All
All right, so we're back. Cody's on the phone. I'm just gonna.
Because of her healthy food certification.
Or no, no. It's breathing.
I'm ready to be done.
Okay.
Ready to be done.
Say that again. I'm sorry, Karen. Okay.
Okay, are we ready? All right, perfect. Cody's on his way. So we're just coming back out of executive session where I can inform you that no votes were taken. I will report that during our executive session, the board conducted a review of Dr. Jones for the past year. We provided her with our constructive feedback. We discussed her goals and her work towards achieving those for the last year and how they related to the strategic plan, her work on the budget, academics, curriculum, and communication, her responses to our comments at last year's evaluation, and what we are looking for her in leadership going forward. All right, so the next thing on the agenda is a discussion item of board goals and self-evaluation. Dr. Mercanti Anthony, can I turn it over to you?
Sure.
Great.
So good evening, everybody. So in your packets and on the agenda is the finalized version of the board goals that we voted on this time last year. So hence you see board goals 2023. And we do not have a excellent tradition of doing a self-evaluation of these goals. So we're following, right? So last year, what we tried to do, and I think that's why we want to come back and talk about it a little bit more, particularly with the next agenda item. But last year, what we tried to do, if you recall, at least with the old board, was think of the board goals a little bit differently. And think about the board goals really as think of the board goals as far as what we as a board want to see accomplished over the course of the year ourselves, what the board wants to get done. So it's still different than superintendent goals. It's different than strategic plan. These aren't achievement metrics and things like that. It's more as the 8 members of the board, what is it that we want to see accomplished? So I think that helps inform the next conversation where we consider or start considering board goals for the following year. So these 5 goals represent our first attempt at that. I think some of these board goals, editorializing here a little bit. Some of these board goals speak more about what we wanted to really try to accomplish, more than others. As is any document that's drafted by committee. But I think it is appropriate before talking about next year and what we want to accomplish over the coming year to look back on goals 1 to 5 and take a moment to talk about what we think we did well and what we didn't do well. So when this was an hour ago, I had one process in mind, but now that as the hour is getting late, I want to do this a little more informally. But I do think it's important, particularly as a public board, to self-critique ourselves a little bit and talk about, here's what we said we were going to do last year. How did we do? So my proposal here, if there are any objections, my proposal here is to go fairly expeditiously, but to go one goal at a time and take a couple minutes to solicit feedback from whomever wants to, comments on how we think we did with this specific goal. And then we'll move on to the next agenda item. Does that sound fair? Ms. Costin?
So, I can tell you as far as board goal number 5 with professional development and education.
So you're already breaking the proposed protocol I suggested.
Well, I want to just say that the board goals, I don't think are ones that we say we checked the box and we're moving on, because obviously we are focused on student learning and achievement. We're focused on student health and safety. We are focused on budget oversight, and we are also committed to engagement and facilities and all these things. I don't know that we retire these goals. I think we have to sort of make a steadfast commitment into making these our goals for our tenure. That's my sort of piece of feedback.
Well, that's fair, but I think that's the next agenda item a little bit. Let's talk about these how we did on these goals first. Go ahead.
Just so you know, I think when we had sat down and spent a lot of time drafting this back and forth between Mike and I, that was why we had the number 1 student learning achievement, number 2, et cetera, and we're committed to the pieces that would change yearly are we will do this by those bullet points. So we are still committed to that, but how are we going to show that we are committed to some of these things? And if we need an addition, just to give you a heads up. So yes, we're committed to doing this again the following year, because these are the things we're focused on, but how will we do that is the question.
Yeah, I agree. When I look at goal 1, right, the second bullet point was directing administration to conduct a review over the community connection and Win-Rose programs. And we did that. And we got those reviews. And so while I would say we could check the box on that aspect of the goal, I think the student learning and achievement never changes. It's what is our focus going to be on for the coming year? And perhaps it's something that came out of the community connections and Win-Rose program we would like to make as our next goal. So I think that we certainly accomplished, as well as evaluating, the board presentations and looking at them with respect to each of the strategic plans. I'd say not only did we accomplish that, but I would also say that the administration accomplished that really well in how you addressed your presentations to the board by focusing on the specific metrics in the strategic plan. And that came through each of the presentations on all of the subject matters to us. So kudos to you in the audience, all 5 of you.
Well, no, so I was going to say the same thing. I think for our first goal, we really did make a large effort to refocus our board meeting and presentations to direct it back towards our newly envisioned strategic plan, and making sure that all of the presentations we had kind of spoke to those goals. And I think, much like Karen said, our administration did an incredible job of doing that. Our school principals did an incredible job of bringing forward their school improvement plans and aligning things with that as well. And so I think that's a great goal for us to continue. But, you know, my question we did review and we had discussions on community connections and Windrose, as well as the wellness program at the high school. My question to you is for next year as a discussion topic so what are our thoughts on our next step as to how we roll that information back in going forward?
I think that's a good question. And I agree. It's the other, I mean, even if you think of the last board meeting, the Suzuki presentation talked about, you know, its relevance to the strategic plan. So I do think that message was communicated effectively.
Sure, mic not working.
I thought it was. No, you can't hear me? Sorry. Maybe I just need to lean in. Here we go. Sorry. All right, anything else on number one? So let's talk about number two then. So student support, number two, student support, health and safety. We're committed to reviewing district understanding of social emotional health of our students. We will do this by creating space in board and committee meetings to review social emotional data and the effectiveness of current programming and policies.
I can't speak for anybody else, but I don't think we did much of a good job in that regards because we really didn't get any data on some of this year. Hopefully we'll get some more information when we get the school surveys in the early fall. Good reminder for anybody who hasn't filled out a survey as a parent out there, please do so.
We did get the results of the town-wide social emotional data. It was like, do I have a sense of belonging? Is there somebody in my life that is, you know, concerned about my welfare?
That was based on a grant, an outside group that did it. Yeah. And it wasn't just, no, it wasn't just our students. It was all the private schools as well. We've not done much because it's that's my point.
Oh, it's a data point.
I don't disagree.
Maybe we didn't knock this one out of the park, but we did something. We got to second base.
I'm so not going to comment on that.
I think they
clearly the fact that there's this awesome baseball field behind us is top of mind.
Exactly.
maybe something we want, moving on. I think maybe something we want to consider is the effectiveness of current programming and policies. I think maybe that's where we got some data points, but using that to see what we're doing well and not well was not really a key focus of us this year. Is that fair? Number 3 is the budgeting and oversight. We're committed to providing a school budget that's, I'm reading this for people who don't have the in front of them. So number 3 was budget and fiscal oversight. We're committed to providing a school budget that supports quality educational programs and facilities, which meet the needs of our students and staff. We said that we are do this by strengthening the new capital and operating budget process. Remember, that was new at the time. To allow expanding opportunities to engage in dialogue with ourselves, the community, and other town bodies, and monitor and seek to expedite any state reimbursements expected from past capital projects.
Yeah, I'd say this one is much more of a team effort. And I would honestly say not only as a team, but as a community-wide effort, particularly on monitoring our state reimbursement and on capital projects and such, because that's not something necessarily we do as a board without the help of others, particularly our building committees, and in this last go around with CMS, our state representatives and in Hartford that had worked really hard and got for us that expected return on CMS. So I would say overall, you know, us as a board pushing, and maybe that was the message we were sending, certainly to those that could make things happen. So I'd say this was, we did well here.
Tony, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I want to say that there were some closeouts on the second bullet there. Right?
Yes, almost all of them are closed out, and checking with the state. Somehow Glenville was lost, but if you remember, they went through a big, so we're resubmitting Glenville.
Okay. Even Mercer, yeah, Mesa was still up. Cool. Okay. So we can check the box on the bulletin on the second bullet. All right, facilities. We're committed to creating and maintaining structurally sound, technologically savvy, optimal facilities that meet the needs of our students and staff on a long-term basis. We said we would do this by constantly modeling the work of our new OG, CMS, and JC building committees, ensuring the swift completion of the Western Middle School field projects.
I think we've done a good job of that, especially through not just updates at the, committee updates at the board, but in many other ways. I know many of these building committees and the chairman of said building committees have made efforts to reach out on our behalf as well to the community. I mean, I think that, I think we've done a good job in the majority there.
Yeah, on this particular front, I would say that Mike on the old Greenwich Building Committee and Laura's particularly on the CMS Building Committee. And I think obviously Joe was on the Julian Curtis, but now I think Wendy's on the Julian Curtis Building Committee. All did excellent jobs in sitting through the RTM meetings on the budget and capital projects. One thing that was particularly common and came throughout was that everyone is very happy with the movement going forward of those projects. And I particularly had the chance to sit in through District 2, District 1 for Julian Curtis, right? District 1. Yeah, District 1 Julian Curtis meeting. And that project, one of the building committee members was in that meeting and was commenting how well it is moving along and that we are working well fiscally to get that done and done expeditiously. So I think all good work is happening there by our committee members. So nice job, guys.
I don't know. I do think it's worth it's probably an unprecedented time in town history where we've had 3 active building committees under the board, and next year we're going to add a 4th.
There's actually more than 3 currently because I'm on the Greenwich High School
That's right,
SWO committee,
GHS,
which is
right. Mhm.
also going
That's true.
whole hog. We go every other week if have meetings.
We talked about this in executive session, the board professional development education goal. We are committed to achieving 100% participation in at least one board training scheduled in the coming year.
I went to mine, but I think we can bring some in we should discuss bringing in some for a retreat next year. Because it is a board policy that we do this, which is,
it's fair.
What is our budget for PD? Anybody know? Yeah.
I don't
Cost
think we
money.
have one.
Yeah. It depends on what the first year that I was here, they were finishing up the lighthouse. So we had to find, the budget for that. The last time we did it was it 2 or 3 years ago where
We did
the last year
through the FOI. So
Yeah.
it came through the legal budget side of things.
But last goal was board, district, and community engagement advocacy. We're committed to improving community support of the district by promoting its positive attributes, maintaining open lines of communication, and encouraging parent and community member involvement. We will do this by supporting the pre-recording and dissemination of the community of most presentations to the board, and then exploring new ways to communicate with various town bodies and stakeholder groups.
I would say as to bullet 1, that was well accomplished. Getting all of the information out to the public and well in advance, with the pre-recordings, I think was quite helpful. I think it created efficiencies in our meetings. Some meetings still ran a little long, but still created some efficiencies in meetings, which I appreciated. New ways to communicate with various town bodies. I don't know how, I don't think we did that very well. Well, I don't think we explored ways. I think we did communicate well with town bodies. I think all of us took a big chunk out of our time in order to talk with the various RTM committees about the budget, our capital projects. I know Laura in particular went to many, many, many meetings in order to make sure that everyone was well on board with CMS. So I think we did that. I don't think we explored new ways. I think we just communicated well. And to be honest, I'm not sure which new ways we can communicate unless we were thinking of a foreign language, but I don't think we're going to do that.
Well, I still think we could, there are some ways we could offer. I know people in the past, board members have gone to visit different school PTAs for their monthly meetings and been speakers
that.
or things like that.
I did that. I visited the
Oh.
PTA meetings. I did.
See, there you go.
So there. Okay, we did it.
Well, we can offer our services, Maybe one more will, join in.
Right. So if you're keeping score at home, it looks like we did about half of goal 2 and half of goal 6. And the others, I think we did. It sounds like we did fairly well.
So what are we going to give ourselves? A solid B? B minus? B minus?
I can't go home to my parents with a B minus. Can I have some extra credit?
Well, this is why if we're ready to go to the next agenda item,
Let's go to the next agenda item.
I think where we want to talk about, like to Karen's point, how we want to see how this rating informs the wording of these goals for next year. So how Karen described it here, you've got these 6 categories here, which are, these are kind of tried and true staples of the board work and also by statute. But what we want to do and how we want to do that can change and probably should change. So like I said at the beginning here, in thinking about where it's appropriate for us to have a fairly free-ranging public conversation here around around what we want as a board to try to accomplish within the category of these six domains. Now, I don't think we have to go each domain here on domain by domain here. But generally, if we have this conversation, and then my suggestion is then after we have this conversation, the strategic plan committee, because this kind of seems to be where board goals kind of live here. If everybody's okay with it, we'll go back and do some work and create a draft that we can bring back to the next board meeting as something that maybe we can hopefully vote for and consider as far as how we want to approach the goals the following year. Karen?
I have a question and a comment. My first question is, how would you like to solicit feedback? Because I know in the years past, we put this out and then we'd asked for input from board members to be emailed, and then we as a committee would go through those. So I'm going to, as chair, I was going to ask you what your thoughts on
I
the
agree.
feedback would be.
So first we have this conversation, then we put something together as a committee. We'll send that out for edits so that we'll see it a couple times before we come back next time.
And
Agree.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the sections that I think we most particularly would love some feedback on under each subject is we will do this by. And if you guys have thoughts while we're drafting, let us know, right? You can send us an email. So that was my question, and my comment was there was another discussion that we had surrounding this subject or evaluation. And I had said to Mike, I pulled up a bunch of documents from one is from CABE and other districts as well on how a board can do self-evaluation. There's rubrics and things like that. So I've committed to sending those along for us to have as a discussion topic, at least in the strategic planning committee, if we want to do it that way. And then if anything makes sense, we can bring that forward to the board also.
So I think that would be an example before we open this up. So for example, under number 5, based on different conversations we've been having, so number 5 is board professional development and education. One thing we might want to commit to as a board, for example, could be reviewing our own policies and procedures around self-evaluations, and what we should be doing and not doing, because there are better ways to do it than our current process, as an example.
Yeah, I think that's a good example. I think in general, that would work better, as well as just our own review process of ourselves, as well as Dr. Jones, in making sure that, everybody's just on the same page throughout the year.
People have other thoughts on things they want to think about as far as in any of these "we will committed by" bullets. Yeah, Ms. Costa.
What about a goal around sustainability? More? So, in other words, I know for our new facilities, we want to make sure that they have the best and most environmentally friendly construction and building envelopes. And are we looking at our energy usage, those kinds of things? And that's very uncharacteristic coming from me. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Wouldn't that go on? But that would go under number 4, facilities.
Yes.
We will do this by.
I'm at a loss, Laura. I'm totally at a loss.
The RTM was very interested in that. So just putting it out there.
Well, so again, I leave it to the strategic plan chair how you want to do this. If you want us to just directly email thoughts to you.
Well, I was hoping to have
Wow.
more. I mean, so we've
Okay.
got 2 ideas. I agree. I mean, I think it's appropriate, like, to give this in public. If people have other ideas now, I think this is our retreat, so it's why. And then obviously people can certainly email things, but if other people have other things they want to think about for next year, Ms. Costin.
Well, we do have a healthy food certification happening right now, and I just curious about whether we are going to, it's a quality of life issue for students. So I'm very curious when we get to that item, whether we are opting in as a district or by school. So I'm not that we can put that on the strategic plan unless we wind up with a result that we don't like, and then we want to explore other alternatives. So that's a potential goal.
I was thinking under number 2, student support, health and safety. With the new anti-hate task force that the selectmen has put together, and some of the issues that we've seen crop up throughout our schools this year, I think that's, and I'm not sure exactly how to frame it. It's not just creating the space in board meetings to review social emotional data, but it's also how we can, as a board, either it's looking towards policies or programming or whatever it is to support students in some of those areas. I know that there's been some things that have happened at multiple different schools and multiple different areas of support, and that we could sort of, not to bring up the negatives, but ways that we can sort of address some of those situations from a board perspective. I don't know how to phrase it, but that.
Yeah, we can do that.
With respect to number 1 on learning and achievement, maybe a health check on how special education is doing. And an update, looking at maybe it's the follow on by PCG to take a look at where we're at to give us our health rating. But I think something needs to be added in there with respect to special education.
Yeah, this idea was noted earlier. We're coming up on like a 5-year mark, so like a 5-year check from that audit. Is it 3? Okay. Is it only been
It just feels like 5 because we went through the
Feels
whole
like
audit process for a year and change.
Maybe that's what it is. I guess it's true.
Under 5, I think it might be interesting if each of the members of the board took the opportunity to reach out to a board member from another district and just have, maybe we could commit to having one conversation with someone from another district of like, what are your best practices? What do you think that your district is doing really well? What is your district really struggling with? And, doing it in that kind of light manner. So we're not all 8 of us trying to coordinate our schedules to meet with 8 people or something like that, but just each of us committing to doing that and bringing that back to the group so that we can continue to think about how we can innovate and improve.
I like that one.
Yeah, I've spoken to board members in Newtown, Wilton, and Fairfield this year, just to get their general views and thoughts on things. So it's always interesting conversations, and it's nice to have, at that space to brainstorm.
Yeah, some of the committees that we have, like I'm on CES. There's members from boards all over the, Fairfield, and during those meetings, there's often opportunities where we connect and ask questions about things like that, and shared practices. So it's always very helpful. And when we go to a CES, district legislative breakfasts and things, anyway, it's always very helpful.
An area that I think doesn't fall in any of these numbers, but is worthy of our consideration is structural changes. So just thinking about if there's elements of the architecture of the way the board functions or certain policies that we have, like reevaluating those. There's specific policies I can come up with that not everyone would agree with, but I think the idea is just, I'm not sure I need to probably think a little bit more about how to frame it as a goal, but it's trying to constantly reevaluate like if the system itself is set up correctly. And as a smaller version of something that I think would be interesting or fun even is something as simple as saying like, let's, cut the number of words or pages in our policy booklet by 20% or 80% or whatever. Like it's the sort of thing where you're going around. That is slightly structural. I'd put it in the structural category, but it's a more innocuous example of like, reevaluating the system and then the things that underpin the system. Something to consider.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. This is related, but maybe not. So if you look at number 6, right, board, district, and community engagement, right? So under number 6, so for example, there might be a worthy goal around public conversations and engaging with the public around certain policy issues. One example that I know we have buy-in, across the board with probably is, because Dr. Jones is already working on it, is AI, for example. Like over there's an existing AI committee that's looking at policies around that and things. And eventually, at some point over the course of next year, we have to have, or we should have, it's appropriate for us to engage with the public to have a conversation about the role of AI in the district and what it should be and shouldn't be. And having that ultimately ends with a policy adoption. So I think there's probably some goal there around public conversation around policy changes. I think what you're getting at, though, is a little bit different because it's more about how we structure ourselves. It's more about governments of us. Right?
Yeah, like examples would be, well, something structural could be moving out of this building, which is quite literally a structural thing, but different ones could be the board approving principal, hires, or I'm trying to think of other, it's a structural change if you allowed private donations to fund capital projects. Again, those can't be goals because those are themselves controversial topics, but some like I think a high impact area for us to be focused on and considering is in some of these like sweeping, not sweeping, but sort of changes that have pretty big impact, but they're not related to, it's like seems different to me than engagement or, you know, some of these other things. Yeah. Well, budget, like approving a principle is not budget or fiscal. Fiscal oversight is approving a I guess, okay, that's an expansive definition. Sure. It's like then everything is fiscal oversight.
We have 3 roles: budget, policy, and
Everything is interstate commerce.
So we could keep going or take advantage of an interest of time and say
unless anybody has any
Yeah.
issues.
any other burning issues. And I would just say that this is a great start. And I think a lot of good ideas have been generated. And I know Karen took great notes, as she always does. I'm just kidding. I know. And then, so what I would just suggest is to, within the next week, to provide comments to Mike on any other topics in connection with this that we want to add. And then the strategic committee, correct, Mike, will meet, we'll come up with something and represent it to the board. Okay, cool. I think we already did the next one, which was the superintendent evaluation, because we came back with that at the very beginning. So that's checked off. We move to our action items. I make a motion to take off as an action item the superintendent contract extension. Karen seconds. Any discussion? I'll vote. All in favor? 8.
Yeah.
Well, for good order, we voted to remove it. All right, the next action item. Dr. Carabillo, you're up. The healthy food certification. Yes, thank you, Ms. Stowe. Hold on, I'm looking for the language.
For you.
Which you can read quickly, which is great. Mhm.
These are blank. There's something about muffins sitting here. You want to just read it? Yeah.
Wait, don't we need to put the motion on the table first?
Not yet.
Right.
Well, this was just to help you understand what she was talking about.
Oh, fine.
We need to
Okay.
put the motion on the table for us to have a
Authorize the
discussion.
superintendent to take affirmative action to implement the healthy food option and combines food and beverage exemptions as follows. Pursuant to CGS section 10-215F, the Greenwich Board of Education certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut Nutrition Standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut Nutrition Standards during the period of July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups.
For those of you who can't follow when it's that quick, it is on board docs under this action item.
And then do I
The
do
word-
2 now? Number 2, motion language for combined food and beverage exemptions. The Greenwich Education will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut Nutrition Standards and beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sales in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sales at the location of the event. And 3, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before 30 to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held and must be at the same place as the food and beverage sales.
Wait, the dates were different than what we have.
Very normal, by the way, speed for me.
Wait, the dates are different in our motion here.
They should both be 24, 25.
Oh, okay.
It says 23, 24 on the website.
That's why I raised
That
it.
was done incorrectly and we didn't correct it.
So this lets us give kids muffins?
No.
Oh,
So if you
'Cause that's
don't want muffins, then you will vote yes to the healthy food certification. If we do that, that means every school in the district will be a healthy food certified school, which means we keep the things the way they are this year, so no muffins. However, if you vote yes, if you vote no, you will have muffins. So what will happen is we still get our reimbursements for all of our free, reduced, and paid lunches because we belong to National School Lunch Program. We all have to in public schools. And we just don't get an additional 10%, 10-cent reimbursement. So you want to vote no if you want muffins. You vote yes if you don't want muffins.
wait, so we're saying yes to the exemption?
No.
No.
Wait, okay, quick question. Sorry. So, because Muffin Gate was very disturbing to me, but the only question is this going to hurt us financially?
Yes, it will.
How much?
How much are these muffins worth? I know you said it's 10 cents per meal. So
I know, that's why I'm like,
the question is,
Can you put a price on
just-
freedom?
is that just lunch? Is that just lunch or does that include breakfast that we sell?
I'm back to the bake sale idea every day for muffins. But
Then you can't have this exemption. You can't have a
If we
bake
do
sale.
bake sale, it has to be after school, 3:30 to midnight. And it can't be on school
I
property.
thought about that.
And don't think about putting in a vending machine either, because that's a no-no.
You could make an Uber driver very happy every day.
There also used to be like, garden catering and we couldn't.
But that was when the
Domino's.
high school wasn't part of the national school lunch program
So they
at that point.
We actually consulted legal, which we said we were going to do. And actually Abby was here today from Town Legal. And this most recent change, the reason we can't be like we used to be happened in February of 2024. And it would seem what we really need to do is engage our delegation in Hartford to get the legislation fixed because this is brand new. That's why we used to be able to do things that we would no longer be able to do.
So we need our state reps to get with the muffins.
Well, what it is we used to be able to take the high school off of the program, and now you can no longer do that. If you take one school off, they must all come off. And the frame of thought is probably this is a post-COVID impact because of how many free lunches were served and that sort of thing. But if we took the high school off like we used to do, we would be taking every school off.
So is this just about like muffins or is this also is this a portion size issue?
It's everything. So we still have to follow the nutritional values, but we can then serve what we want.
But voting no is going to cost millions.
No, it won't cost millions. What it will do is that we won't have reimbursement for all our breakfast and all our lunches, but we'll still have reimbursement for all of our lunches. It's very complex and confusing. We get reimbursement from the state because we are a national school lunch program. You get reimbursement for all free and reduced lunches that make the required components. And we also get reimbursement for the paid meals, but it comes at different levels. So if the state reimburses us right now for $4.25, $3.85 and 40 cents on the paid meals. So that's I'm getting confused now, as a national school lunch program. Last year we got paid for all of our breakfasts as well. because we were free for the past 4 years for COVID. So now we have to go back and we'll just be reimbursed for our lunches, not our breakfasts.
And there was many years ago where we sort of were operating in the red, but then we kind of got profitable, yes.
Every school district got profitable during COVID.
So the fear is that we're going to go back to where the BET basically had to fund our loss.
But the lunch program was never supposed to be a profit program. It's just, we got lucky during COVID. But my question to you is this, is prior to COVID and when we were able to opt, we had, all of our elementary and middles as part of National School Lunch Program, and the high school was opted out. Did we ever get reimbursement for any of the meals at the high school except maybe free and reduced lunch?
You always got reimbursement for National School Lunch Program.
But we had opted out at the high
No.
school. So we got
These
no
are two
reimbursement.
separate things.
So that's what I'm saying. We got no reimbursement for any of the meals at the high school when they were opted out during those
No.
years.
No, we always got reimbursement for National School Lunch Program. Every school gets it because we have to be a National School Lunch Program as a district in the state of Connecticut.
Okay. Before we have to have every school, in the past, we had all of the elementaries and middles as part of National School Lunch Program, but the high school was not part of it. That's why I was asking.
They were part of it. They were not part of the healthy food certification.
Okay. That's what I was trying to get at. Thank you.
So
Wait, is the healthy food certification a Connecticut thing? And was one federal, one
It's
state?
the USDA and the Connecticut State Department of Nutrition.
That's why you're saying, Tony, the way to fix it is our state delegation has to change the rule. It's just
To allow us to opt the high school completely out. And just to give context, Patrick did pull those numbers for us today. And for the performance-based reimbursement by joining healthy food certification, from September through April, we served 472,624 meals at 10 cents, which is what we're talking about losing. That was 47,262. So it's not like a huge, big decision if the muffins are really important.
I think they're worth $47,000.
Well, it's not just the muffins. It's the fact that it's the muffins and the fact that the students can actually have a larger lunch portion that meets their nutritional needs, because right now the lunch portions are tiny.
Opting out of the healthy food option
Healthy food certification.
but that's not a school specific, it'd be all schools.
It has to be the entire district.
And we're really not talking just about muffins. We're talking about healthy foods and portion size, K to 12.
And we still have to follow the state nutrition standards.
So what are the drawbacks here of not participating? Like what is the typical school lunch going to, how does a typical school lunch look different?
Right.
Say that again.
HF with healthy food certification, you're going to lose $47,000.
And
It still will be reimbursed for your lunches.
And the key is there's a gap between the nutrition stuff that we have to follow no matter what, and what you have to follow for the certification.
Correct.
But opting out will also, even though we have to follow the nutritional requirements, it does mean that even kids in the elementary school can get a larger portion, as well as the middle school will get a larger portion of food.
We just have to make sure we have the components of a reimbursable meal.
Got it. Okay.
And opting out of the healthy food option does not mean we do not have to serve healthy food. For those out there, we can still follow exactly what this says.
You're correct.
But provide a larger portion size for students that, again, the high schoolers do not want to eat a small portion size like they were still at elementary school. And yes, it's not about muffins, but we can keep calling it the muffin gate. But it's more about making sure that the students have options to eat what they need to keep their bodies going and their minds going during the school day.
And they can fill up on the muffins
With
and
muffins.
breakfast.
The healthy food option has the same portion size in elementary school as high school?
No.
Okay.
A very small portion. Even the middle school isn't, the portion isn't big enough and kids are hungry.
So does this mean like we have to serve whole grain pizza crusts rather than Domino's?
We can't serve Domino's, but we can serve a different crust. We have to serve healthy food, and it has to have components with wheat and whole wheat and vegetables and fruits, but we can have different things.
Gluten-free wheat, right?
Yes, we do have gluten-free.
So they can have the whole apple instead of the slice.
But the question is really just, that some bureaucrats at the state government and the USDA want to bribe us to accommodate whatever their definition today is of healthy, which probably doesn't line up with what most people want to do. As much as I would love to teach the high school kids a lesson about the dangers of big government and force this upon them, I don't think I can.
Are we ready? All right, call a question. So,
Wait,
wait.
did anybody second the motion?
No,
No, we just put it on the table. Right?
I'm not reading
I'll
it again.
Second the motion. Retroactively.
so I just, for clarification, if we vote yes, that means that
No
one.
muffins.
Okay, and we vote no means yes muffins. Got it. Okay, just checking.
No means yes to muffins.
No, vote no. Okay.
Just vote no.
Okay, sorry. Tony has this written out. All public schools that participate in the National School Lunch Program must complete the annual Healthy Food Choice Statement. Greenwich is a National School Lunch Program district. So no to muffins. So if you vote yes to be a healthy food certification district, there will be no muffins / smaller portion sizes also. We will be reimbursed for every free, reduced, and paid complete lunch, as well as a complete breakfast, and an additional 10 cents for every complete reimbursable lunch and breakfast if we say yes to this certification and yes to this motion. If we want to say yes to muffins and yes to larger portion sizes, we would vote no to be a healthy food certification district.
Okay.
And then we will be reimbursed for every free, reduced, and paid lunch because we are a national school lunch program, but we won't receive an additional 10 cents for each complete reimbursable lunch.
Okay. Call the question. All in favor, raise your hand.
Of what? Yes or no?
You have to vote on the first and the second.
Oh, separately.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor of the first motion, raise your hand. All get opposed, raise your hand. Okay. 8-0. Okay. All in favor of the second motion, raise your hand. All opposed to the second motion, raise your hand. Great. Passes 8-0. Fails 8-0.
Okay. Muffins pass 8-0. Healthy food certification, not so much.
That's probably my favorite vote.
But now you have to vote on you voted no.
We
both
voted
of
no
them.
on both.
Correct.
Perfect.
Voted no for both. Okay.
Yay, muffins.
All right. They already are back. They,
You shouldn't say that. They're going to have the minutes. There are no muffins until next year.
There's no official muffins at our school.
can Laura quickly make a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor? Pass 8-0.